Thomas, how are you, mate?
Good, mate, Carl. How you going?
Good, mate. I'm just having to crack a Pepsi Max and it's going down a treat.
That's not bad. I mean, I decided to go with tea.
What flavour, mate? Earl Grey, English breakfast.
Tetley all-rounder, mate.
Tetley all-rounder. You can't go wrong with a Tetley all-rounder. Every cricket team needs a good all-rounder.
I don't think you
Jacques
can.
Callis, greatest all-rounder of all time.
It's not a bad pick. I mean, Australia don't really have a good all-rounder at the moment.
We haven't had a good all-rounder for, I would say, quite some time. Well, Cameron Green has the potential to be a good all-rounder, but he's still very young. Before, Tommy, I need to tell you a quick story because...
Enlighten me, mate. Enlighten me.
Saturday night, after a 12-hour day, 12-hour turnaround into another 12-hour turnaround, 12-hour day. You know how we do it. This is what we do.
That's what we do, mate.
I'd been talking to the wife, and she'd be sort of just been chatting to me up, feeding, you know, pumping the milk out, feeding, just having a bit of a go.
Just having a crack.
So she rings me at about 2:35-ish, right? On my way home. Absolute panic in her voice, and I mean panic. So the first thing I've done is put my foot to the floor because I'm like, fuck, there's something wrong with the boy. I've got to get home quick. I said, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? She goes, hurry up. You need to get home. You need to get home. So I've shit myself, right? I'm deep panic.
You're putting your foot to the floor.
Mate, I had the foot to the floor. So, and then I said, what's wrong? She goes, there's a spider. So I've taken my foot off the fucking pedal, right? Because my wife, bless her soul, has been known to exaggerate things. Okay?
Just a touch?
So she will call a massive spider something the size of a 10-cent piece. She really carries on, and it's almost caused me to bloody have an absolute catastrophe Saturday night. So I've slowed right down. I've said to her, I'll be home in a minute, and I can hear her talking to her mother in the background. And her mother's going, there's a spider. Now, for lack of a better term, her mother can be a fuckwit. She's a good woman, lovely woman, but can be a fuckwit. So I've slowed down, right? I'm on my way home. I'm thinking, I've got to go home, get this spider, blah, 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 blah. I get into the house. They're saying it's the biggest spider I've ever seen. I'm still not convinced. It's the biggest spider I've ever seen. It's the biggest spider I've ever seen. It's gone behind the walk-in robe in Kaylin's room. So I've gone in there to have a look. I can't see anything. I'm a bit apprehensive because I'm not real good with arachnids.
Yep.
And I've looked behind the cupboard, can't see anything, and I've looked down, and behind the cupboard I see this spider, right? And she's a big hooer, right? So I've gone, holy fucking shit. Got to go and get myself some Mortine with the long tip on it to get into the hard-to-reach places. And I've seen it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty big, but like you can't see it because it's behind a cabinet against a wall.
Yep.
I've gone out, come back in like fucking Brendan Fraser in The Mummy trying to get rid of the those scarab things, whatever they're called. Right, and I've sprayed behind the wall, and I thought, right, I'll give it a sec to come out, and I'll put my foot on it. What come out from behind this cupboard was like something out of fucking Starship Troopers. The motherfucker was that big, right? It reared at me. It lifted its legs and reared at me. So I, in all my glory, have shit my fucking pants and run away.
Good dad.
I've shit, run away, and then I've thought to myself, I can't do this. I can't live my life in fear. I have a child who depends on me now. So I took up arms against it. I've taken up arms. I've got my spray and I'm ready, and it's on its back feet. Honest to God, if it had boxing gloves on, it looked like Mike Tyson. It was that big. So I'm shitting myself. Spraying it. I've near poisoned everyone in the house. Don't worry about a spider killing you. You'll be poisoned by Mortine in this house now because I've sprayed the living shit out of it. And stood on it, and then all that carry on almost died because my wife sent me home. So that's my story for you, Tom.
Jesus Christ, mate.
Mate, that was my Saturday night after two 12-houries. So, moral of the story.
You've expected this little pea of a spider.
Nothing.
And
mate,
you've gone in and it's the holy mother load.
Mate.
The queen.
Jesus Christ, that's all I'm saying.
That's ridiculous.
Anything going on with you? What's happening in your life? Talk to me.
Oh, mate, I mean, there's not a great deal right now. Oh, actually, I've been trying to sort my bloody car out. I had a look at one today. That'd be the most exciting thing. I had a look at one. It's a wild track, so it's the top of the range model.
You sexy little devil.
Devil. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Same year model as mine, so the 2011.
Yes.
But it's got it's all kitted out. It's got the canopy. It's got a tow bar in the back. It's got a winch. It's got everything. So it's all kitted out, ready to go. I just don't want to overpay for it. So yeah, I wanted to test drive it, but it was up on a mound, for show. So it was like the best in the yard type thing. So they couldn't get it down. They're like, oh well, you have to come back tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I will be coming. And so I'll go back tomorrow and give it a test run, and if she feels good, then I'll put a look, mate. You know what car yards are like. So
animals.
I'll negotiate.
They'd sell ice to Eskimos.
If they well, yes. Honestly, that's my old man. He could sell sand to the Arabs. I wish he was in Brisbane, mate, because he's the best hagger in the game. He just does not take anything.
He goes real good on the tongue, eh?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Sly tongue, Vic.
I don't have that skill, so I'm going to have to try a different approach.
I'll end up overpaying for stuff because
I won't overpay.
I always do.
I won't overpay because I know what I want, and I know the beauty of it is that because it's a 2011 model, and I've had that model, so I know exactly what's in it and what's good about it. I know the feel of it, so I feel like it'll drive just like mine. It's just kitted out because it's a wild track. Like, it's got the side steps when you open it. It's got the chrome bits along the door. It says wild track, so it's neat. Leather interior. I really like it. It's blue, which is a bit gay because I don't like blue, but it's a nice blue. Like, it's a metallic, nice blue.
That'll do the job.
Yeah, it'll do. Like, it's got this, like, because the wild track lettering is in gold, and then, which is cool, but then they have like this gold strip on the bonnet, which again looks naff, but I mean, you can always just fucking spray it if it really bothers you. But that was me for the day. That's what I've been thinking about, because I've been trying to get a bloody loan, and the banks are fucking me around. You know what it's like.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. But other than that, yeah, just car and looking after the big fella as always.
Very good.
He's up on his feet, so he's moving around. It's a bit of a challenge.
Put some boots on him. Get boots on him now, or give him some golf clubs, or give him a tennis racket. Something, and get him in early and monetize him.
Oh, absolutely. Got to
monetize him early. I have been on the young fella. He's on his back all the time, or he's a bit upright, whatever. I've been putting his feet in positions to hook balls in from the left. So hopefully we've got a weapon on our hands. No one really cares about our lives other than us, Tommy. Anyway, so what do you want
basically, mate? I know.
Speak to me. What do you want to talk to me?
Oh, mate. There's a bit going on. There's a bit going on
in the sporting world. There's a lot going on in the arena. I would like to quickly touch on the absolutely dismal performance from the Wallabies against the All Blacks in the Bledisloe. I think it's 16, 17 years or whatever it is we haven't won it. Absolutely disgraceful. They've got rid of the Giddo rule, which I think is a great thing, because why would you let your best talent just leave because they don't want to play in the country anymore, because you're not going to pay them enough because you're a joke of an organisation? What do you reckon? What do you think about that? Did you watch the game? Did you see how it went?
Look, I think it absolutely is way overdue, because the Wallabies haven't, honestly, if you really want to be honest about it, like I said, like I was saying before, that they haven't been any good from about 2003. Like, literally since the last World Cup here.
Yes. Yeah.
They've been on a slow decline because they got their fucking finger in their ass, and they created this bloody law, that ghetto law, that you couldn't, if you were overseas, you couldn't play for the Wallabies, and it just fucked them. And not only that, rugby union in sort of like grassroots level, so in school level and for the younger kids, it's not as big as it used to be. It's not as prominent as it used to be. So there's a problem there. They need to invest in the grassroots again, because I can remember growing up when I was young, Australia was the best rugby union team in the world.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I would like to get the opinion of our producer, El Producerino, when it comes to this, because he is
He's the rugby union. He's the rugby don, as they would say.
The king of the Springboks. Andrew, please feel free to chime in with what your opinion on this rugby debacle is, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm disgusted.
I'll just give you a quick correction there. It's 19 years now that the
that's what. All right, so even better.
Jesus.
How good? Even better.
I think it was always a tough ask for them as well, because of obviously Corona. They had to play back-to-back games at Eden Park.
But
which
it doesn't matter.
It's true. I mean, they did look a lot better in the first game, but they got absolutely pumped in the second game.
Yep.
Totally outclassed. The Wallabies have such an issue. They really haven't been a danger since that 2003 World Cup. They've had times where they've looked dangerous because they did make the World Cup final in 2015.
Yes, that's right.
But like, they never looked like they were going to win it.
No, I didn't think so either.
You know, and like you said, they really do have a problem with grassroots.
Grassroots is gone, and I think the grassroots issue stems from how poorly an organisation, Australian Rugby, runs it. It is so poorly done. If you look at grassroots rugby league, for example, there is more girls playing grassroots rugby league, I reckon, than there would be boys playing grassroots rugby.
Oh, for sure. The administration of the RA, I believe it's called now, has been absolutely shocking over the past 15 years. They have mismanaged their money. They relied on all the from 2003. They had a huge injection of cash from the World Cup.
Yes, monstrous injection.
That's,
it was millions of dollars.
That's right, and that saw them through all the way up until the 2013 British and Irish Lions tour. And now, now they're in panic mode.
Absolutely.
I
remember in the early 2000s, there was all this talk of, like, Australian rugby has this war chest and they're stacked and they were buying every good NRL. Like, all these good rugby league players were going across, Matty Rogers, Wendell Saylor, Lottie. Like, they were at the peak of their powers playing rugby league and they were, like, poaching them for big money. They couldn't be touched. And then all of a sudden, it stopped and everything went sour. And it went sour fast.
Well, if you remember too, Carl, like that was always the thing, wasn't it, years ago? Like I remember watching rugby league and union, that the league stars would always leave because there was way more money in union and they would always go. Money. All the best players, that's why Carmichael Fuckface Hunt went.
He went to AFL first, but
but you know what I mean, yeah. But they all leave, like you said, the best players at that time, like Wendell Sayer and Lottie, they were the best players in the league. Like they were the best wingers in the game. And they left because of the money.
And they were the peak of their powers too. Like they were Australian Queensland wingers, and off they popped to rugby, which they didn't have to do as much work physically, but their back pockets were stacked. And what has happened? Where is the pull now? Where's the appeal? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's Adam Dewey, for example, from the West Tigers, and the 5'8" there. He's been pulled from rugby. Like, there's all these other players who've been pulled the other way now, and they're being pulled before they even start. So there's something really, really sad going on with rugby in Australia at the moment, and it needs to be fixed. And I don't know if what the current agenda of picking, like, I don't know how they're going to fix it, because it's like there's no pride in the jersey when you watch these guys run out and play.
Well, it's exactly that when, those three guys got caught, having a bit too much booze,
yes.
And, like, you'd think in a professional setup like that, with the Wallabies, you're playing like maximum 10 games a year.
Yeah.
And like they're all allowed to have a drink. They're all, but there was a curfew.
Yes.
And you think these guys would take that seriously. They're on huge money. And
huge money. But if you look at, like, I look at the world powers at rugby at the moment, which is South Africa and New Zealand and even in England, right? You look at how well the All Blacks structure is from the very, very bottom, like from the youngest kid all the way. Every single one of those people want to play for the All Blacks, and they want to do their best every time they play. And I think it's the exact same thing with South African rugby. Like,
well, it 100%
1995 in South African rugby, 1995, when they had the World Cup there after fucking years and years and years of apartheid and turmoil, and the great man Mandela brings the country together. Look at South African rugby from there to now, and you can say Australian rugby's flipped and gone to where South African rugby was, minus the crazy amounts of racism.
I have a just before Tree comes in with that South African part, but I have another thing to add to it. I think this plays a part. It's not all of it, like you said. They are whatever they're called now. They are useless and they spend all their cash and they have nothing left. But I do think a large part of it, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like a lot of Australian supporters for sport are very bandwagon supporters. I'll give you an example. So Australia haven't been great
I don't think
since. I'm not saying all of it, but I'm saying a lot of majority of them. So Australia have not been great since 2003, and it's not a coincidence that Australian rugby has gone to shit, and now nobody's in the stadiums because nobody wants to watch the games, nobody wants to invest because there's no good players anymore. They're not winning. It's. I don't think it's no coincidence that there seems to be no money and no. There's a lack of fans in the stadium and all that type of stuff, and coincidentally, Australia are shit. Whereas in other countries like South Africa, like New Zealand, South Africa, that rugby team doesn't matter if they're shit. Those fans are always going to be there, and that country is always going to follow its team. The same with New Zealand.
Rugby is their national sport, though.
Exactly. And I know but that's what I'm getting to. That apart from the AFL and rugby league, because those two sports I think are so founded in this country's history, and like this that goes back for years and years and years and years and years.
It's ingrained in the culture.
Exactly. Those two sports are easily the two biggest sports in this country, right? And they'll never drop. So,
but see, in 2003, I think Australian rugby may have been stronger than those two, because Australian rugby was massive in the early 2000s.
Exactly, it was, but so they benefited.
It can't be just because the fall off of like talent. It's something in the back of in the back of house that's been managed so poorly to that no talent wants to play the game.
I think it's a combination of things, though, Carl. Because so it's a combination of them obviously spending all their cash from the 2003 World Cup. So they had the World Cup, and that really galvanizes a country, a World Cup. So it's at its
absolutely
peak,
it does.
And they throw all their money away, right? Then the country, admittedly, the rugby team's gone to shit, right? So then the fans start to back off. Well, we're not winning much anymore, so I'm not really invested in rugby union as I used to be. And meanwhile, the Kangaroos are bloody winning every fucking World Cup known to man because they're so good. And so slowly you lose that sort of... So if you think from 2003 to now, 2021, how long is that?
Well, 18 years.
Exactly. So if someone's born in 2003, an 18-year-old now, what did they watch when they were 10 years old? That's 2013. They're not watching union because the team's shit. So they think, I'll go watch the Kangaroos. I'll go watch Greg Inglis. I'll go watch Jonathan Thurston. And they're awesome. And they grew up wanting to be rugby league players. And I'm not saying that's all the reason, but it's a massive part. And it ebbs and flows. So, Australia was so good in 1991. And so for that next 10-ish years, you breed really good players because your country's at its peak of its powers.
But rugby's draw card in Australia in those early years was the fact that if you were playing rugby league on the fringe or whatever, you could go over for huge money. They had the money to draw you over, and the money's gone.
Absolutely,
That's the major problem. It's the absolute mismanagement back of house when it comes to it. It's a disgrace.
Well, look at them with Fox Sports. They've gone over to Stan, and you can't tell me that going to Stan is a better decision than being on Fox Sports. I can't say that.
Rugby league and AFL have their own channels, for God's sake.
Yeah, they tried to strong on Fox Sports. And it backfired on them. Yeah. There's a couple of things I want to touch on there. So, in regards to South Africa and New Zealand, 100% that's religion over there.
Absolutely.
Growing up.
Ultimate.
You have so much pride in those jerseys, you know. There's also less competition in sports. So, when I grew up in South Africa, it was pretty much cricket and rugby union.
Rugby. Exactly. And it's very similar in New Zealand, but cricket is even New Zealand's the number one. I think they're still the number one Test team in the world.
They are, I think they either are the number one or the number two. Yeah,
they've got number 1, 2, or 3. Like the All Blacks are right up there. New Zealand in world sport at the moment is unreal for a place that small, doing that well in 2 major sports. Crazy, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I think the All Blacks are the most successful sports team of all time.
Well, and you would never. I don't think you could even argue that.
I think their winning percentage, there's no other team that comes close. In the professional era.
Now, you know how people always have these what if the Wallaby, or what if the Kangaroos played the All Blacks, and what if
didn't that almost happen? Last year,
or
the year before, yeah.
But that to me is an outrageous idea because they're two completely. Yes, they're similar sports, but they're so different. You just have
but what are they playing in? Are they playing in league or are they playing in unit? Because they're playing in league. Kangaroos playing every game.
Win.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You can't have a hybrid you could never do it. To me, it would make no sense because you would either have to say, all right, we're going to play a game of league, and then we'll play round 2 will be a game of rugby. And, of course, the Kangaroos are going to win the league. And, of course, the Wallabies are going to win rugby.
Yeah, you're never going to get a competitive result.
No. And so I like how you can put the 2 and 2 together, but I agree with you, Andrew. They're the powerhouse of world sports, especially at the international stage. Because to bring people together from different provinces that play against each other all year and consistently win, and to win so convincingly, is amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing.
And a big problem with the Wallabies too is because like they have this whole thing of like, and like they love to dish it at South Africa, saying that South Africa play boring rugby.
Winning
rugby. That's exactly. I'll tell you what, if they had a winning team that was consistently winning over the last 5-10 years, they wouldn't have an issue putting in bums in seats.
Exactly.
No,
because nobody questions a winning team. You know, if it's boring exactly or not.
That's right. But if you look at and this is where I think, Tommy, your point has some. I agree with your point about how fans can be fair weather to an extent. But you look at the AFL and majority of rugby league, minus like the Broncos and the Titans, but that people are rusted on to the team that they love, that they see week in, week out. It's different when it comes to international games.
You don't have tribal
allegiance to these people. I go for the Brumbies, obviously I love the Brumbies, but I don't really give a shit if bloody Michael Hooper's playing for Australia, because I don't like the bloke. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier to almost turn your back on the country that playing than it is to turn your back on your team that you support week in, week out.
Yeah.
And I can attest to that, because like I obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan to the day I die, and I always put them first, and I don't really give a shit about England. Like, if England lose, I don't really care.
Well, that's
because
the whole
it's
thing
my
with
club.
The EPL club before country, isn't
And
it?
and I guess being a sports fan is kind of like that, isn't it? Because you get very tribal, and you love your club, and when it comes to some international sports, you're not engaged as what you should be. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that.
I agree.
But
I'm very happy you said that, Tommy, because I've wanted to talk to you about this for a while. What sport in a whole does, whether it be international or whether it be local or whether it be 11th league fucking in France, there's a tribalism and a passion that you can't really find elsewhere in life, right? There's something about riding the highs of winning and feeling the lows of losing that you can't get elsewhere outside of sport. You know what I mean? Like that is to me the ultimate draw card. I love the end result, right? But I also love the stories of the game. I love where people come from. I love how they get there. I love the stats. I love everything about it. But there's something about riding the emotion of a great season. Like the Knights, for example. 3 wooden spoons in a row, 15, 16, 17. Awful time. But you look at him now. Daniel Saifidi, who played through that whole thing, playing for New South Wales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's little stories inside of it that are amazing, which I think is what makes sport so worldwide and so universally loved. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like a family, isn't it? It's like you're coming together when you invest in a club, and whoever you support, even Man United supporters, even bloody Man Trig right here. You know what I mean?
Like, they get fucked, but they're
like there's a culture about it. Every football club that you support, and you invest in that, and you all feel as one. So when something happens, you feel like it happens to everybody, and there really is no way to explain it. Like when the fans get together, when you're watching the game, and like you said, when you win a title, or when you win a game where you shouldn't have won a game, or you make anything, you make sort of a run or something like that, or a young kid
you
debuts.
You lose a close one, or you get flogged.
Yeah, or you lose a player, and he was your best player in your club, and then he goes somewhere else, and you played him for the first time, and it's just all these little things that make it so great. And I mean, each sport is obviously got their own individual things that happen and make it so great. Like the things that make football great are different to the things that make union and league great.
That's right.
And AFL great. And they all have their own things, but ultimately, what it boils down to is if just being a sports fan, it all has the same feeling.
Exactly. No matter what sport you follow, right? Whether it be golf, motorsport, ping pong, if you're passionate about it, you're going to get the same feeling I get when I watch the Knights run out. You know what I mean? That is a universal thing that I think is what it's really beautiful in a way. You know what I mean? Like, it brings... Look what sport did, going back to rugby, for South Africa with that 1995 World Cup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just
Mandela promised that.
I was just going to say, like, Mandela had the quote, sports have the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, the power to unite people in a way that little else does.
Like, if you look at that story, right, from when that man being in jail for 27 years, the white population being absolutely terrified he's going to come out with retribution, and he comes in and he says, I'll get you the Rugby World Cup, trust me, and then apartheid abolished, people starting to come together, blacks and whites cheering in the same thing, South Africa which is the ultimate... This, for me, 1995 Rugby World Cup is the ultimate sporting story there is. I don't think anything can beat it in my lifetime, and I don't think anything will beat it while I'm alive. I really think that story from start to finish is the best sporting story you'll ever see.
Discuss.
It changed the way an entire country viewed one another. Andrew, and you would know much more about this being South African.
Yeah, when Nelson Mandela did come out of jail, a lot of people were worried. But I mean, Nelson Mandela said something like, if he came out hating, the people who put him in there... The country would have went into civil war. Yeah, if he came out hating the people who put him in there, he'd never be free again.
That's right.
Something along those lines, yeah.
And the country would have went into civil war and turmoil, and it would have been one of the bloodiest race wars that the planet's ever seen. But Nelson Mandela used rugby to get the emotions of the entire country into one place, and look what it's done now. Look where they are now. You know what I mean?
3 World Cups later.
3 World Cups later, to me, it's the most amazing sports story I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue with that. In terms of bringing a nation together and in the turmoil that happened, it's pretty hard to find something else.
If you look, like the All Blacks would not play against South Africa prior to that because the world was going crazy watching what was happening.
Well, South Africa was barred from playing.
South Africa was barred from world sports.
Yeah,
and I think there was rebel cricket tours and all this bullshit.
Yeah,
but that Rugby World Cup, even if South Africa lost, it was still going to be a win for South Africa and the world in whole. But the sweetener that they won under the circumstances that they did, I really think you would be hard pressed to find a more amazing sports story. I really do.
No, I'm trying to think on the top of my head, like just what I can, what I can think of with grand finals or whatever, and
this is what I mean.
And World Cups, and it's pretty hard to. I mean, the only thing that in my head that comes close to something being amazing, but for different reasons, like because you have a country uniting together, that's pretty hard to beat because that's like it's big on a social level and everything like that.
But it's big on a global level.
Exactly, but the only thing that comes close in terms of a sporting thing is for me is Leicester winning the league in 2016 because that'll never ever be done again.
I agree, and on a different level. But see, it's the same, and that's what I was talking about before when it comes to passion and stuff about sport. Those people would feel the same way about Leicester winning than I assume South Africans felt when they watched Francois Pienaar lift the trophy above his head.
Oh, absolutely!
If you're of being a Leicester fan, and the pride of being a South African.
If you're a Leicester fan, that's you don't care. Well, for starters, if you're a Leicester fan watching football, you're not a fan of rugby union. I wouldn't imagine so, right? No, so to them, they wouldn't care about that. So in their eyes,
I don't think there's many people like us that enjoy.
Look, there'll be a few out there, obviously, but not.
I hope there are. If you are out there and you love all sports,
get in touch.
I love you. I love you already. You're a good person.
I don't know how you can just like one singular sport. I struggle.
I can't. I can see how it can be so tribal, but I like to put my passions into all different sorts of sports because then you'll never be bored because there's always going to be something going on.
It's just too interesting for me. I'm just interested in
the stories that get
the stories, and the success of everything. I mean, granted, I may have a favourite sport, and I think that's pretty evident, and so do you. But
absolutely, and a favourite team.
But I still really enjoy everything I watch. The only thing that I've never really got into, and I don't know why, maybe because it's just a little too boring for me, is cricket. I can't do cricket for some reason. I can watch a test between England and Australia in the Ashes. I see that's just more again being tribal and patriotic. I like to watch it.
I reckon that is right because you're English, right? And Australia's dominance in cricket from the 80s until probably well, let's just say, just before Ponting retired, the dominance was unbelievable, right? And England was pumped time and time and time again. And this is where, like, on the other side of things, where some people will support their teams. And this is what the English do, I think, almost better than anyone. They will support in turmoil and loss regardless of what's going on. Like, the Barmy Army will go everywhere if they're getting pumped every week.
Because the results
will travel everywhere.
Yeah, because results to English people, it doesn't matter. Because there's one thing you got to know, right? In the UK, there is nothing else. Like, so we're very fortunate in this country, and in some respects, Andrew could probably understand this being from South Africa. Like, we're so fortunate to be able to do whatever we want. We can have so many different hobbies, so many different things we can do. We can go forward driving. We can drive across the country and go to the beach. We can do whatever we want in this country, and so sport's not just the only focal point. Whereas in the UK, there's nothing else to do. There is sport, there's football, and some people are rugby is really massive in England, and obviously cricket.
It really is, isn't it?
And obviously
Rugby's
cricket is.
huge.
And that's so you go to work, and either you go to the pub or you watch your game, and that's it. So that's why they get right behind all their country, like every sport that they play, they're right behind them. They don't care. The result doesn't matter, because for them, that day, the Saturday or the Sunday or whatever it is, it's the whole day. You wake up, you get into the pub. It's the singing along with all your other friends. It's all that environment, that whole atmosphere that day. Like when we went to the Champions League final in the casino in 2018 and 2019, back-to-back years, there was 2,000 of us, the supporters club, and that time and that togetherness with everybody, drinking from like 10 o'clock at night till 4:30 in the morning. It's the best things that you ever experience. You're singing songs, you're together, you're happy.
You're all there for the same thing.
You're all there for the same thing.
You all want the one thing.
And that's why England fans continue to they don't care, they'll just turn up. And a lot of other places don't have that. We don't have that here because we have so many other different luxuries in our life that it doesn't really, like, we're not super invested. It's not the only thing that we can enjoy.
I agree.
You know.
I agree to an extent. And also, Jesus, if I was in England, I'd hate to be looking at those brown brick, dirty old houses every day. I'd want to be going to do something else.
Exactly.
They are dreary, boring-looking buildings.
You can't really go out much when you've got grey skies. So, you've got to find enjoyment somewhere else. And, football's very tribal. It always has been. So, But,
I agree.
I mean, what are the states like, mate? What have they got? I mean, they've got the NBA and the NFL. Everything. A little bit of topics to talk about.
I do. I want to talk about something positive, and positive for both of us. Real positive. I think that little chat was positive, but the Bulls, geez, they're shaping up to be beautiful, aren't they?
Mate, I've got that list right here. I'm just briefly looking through
what do you reckon your starting five's going to be? And I guarantee you mine's the same as yours, because, oh my God, I'm getting harder than a horse.
So, for me, I think starting five right now, albeit injuries aside or whatever, so we don't know what's going to happen. But it'll be Vucevic at the far as the center, and then
isn't he a weapon? Isn't he's a superstar, man?
Well, him and Zach LaVine were all stars last year, so that's a very, very good sign. Vucevic at the 5.
Yep.
Pat Williams at the 4.
Absolutely, he was fucking unbelievable last year, man.
That's right, mate.
In a losing effort for us, him, Vucevic, and LaVine were really good.
Yeah, they were, mate, and I'm very, very excited. He's very young.
We were let down in, I think, the control of games by our guards, Kobe White and I can't remember who the other fucking bloke is, but I think they let us down with sort of the control, where Lonzo will change that for us.
So I think I'll just finish off my 5 and I'll talk about
Go on.
So DeRozan at the 3, which I think is massive. I think that's a massive signing for us. Zach LaVine, obviously, at the 2, best player in our team, and then Lonzo Ball at the 1. And then you're going to have, this is a really exciting thing, in the second unit, we're going to have Wendell Carter Jr., Larry Markkinen, Kobe White will still be there, Caruso. And then and Caruso as well. So, man, we're going to have a good second unit that's still going to be able to score points. A lot of times, like this year and for years past, pretty much since Rose left, we'd have like sort of a decent-ish first 5, and then once the fucking subs come on and you get that second unit in, we just fall into the trash. But yeah, back to Lonzo. I think what's really exciting about it is because apparently he got approached by a lot of teams and they kind of wanted him to be a point guard that was going to get you a lot of points as well. So like maybe average 20 to 25 points a night, as well as being that facilitator for them, right? But why he signed for the Bulls is because apparently they came out and said, look, we just want you to be you. We just want you to be the point guard. You don't need to go score 20 points. We don't even care if you score 5. But because we've got Zach LaVine, we've got DeRozan, we've got Vucevic, they're going to be our 3 main scorers, right?
Pat Williams can put up 15, 20 easy.
Yeah, he can. So Lonzo doesn't have this pressure of trying to get all these points, which admittedly he's not great at. He's got better. Like his 3-point percentage last year was better. His free throw percentage was better last year. But he's not a scorer. He's a pass first orientated point guard. Whereas, I like to call him like an old school point guard because point guards nowadays are these like athletic fucking freaks that can dunk from the free throw line and pull up from fucking 40. But he's an old school point guard, and he could just go out, get his 10 to 15 assists a night, and just play his best basketball because he is an actual really good point guard.
He's really good. What I think he'll do for us, and what I hope he does, is I hope he takes sort of a Rondo-esque role at like when he was at Boston.
Well, that's exactly right.
And just runs the floor. Just dish the ball out to the big boys. Let them do their thing. Let Zach LaVine dunk from halfway. Let him do all this wild shit. But you just sort of control the tempo. Defend really well because that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to defend well.
He's not a bad defender on the perimeter.
He's a decent defender, but he's going to if he can just really lock in on get clean passes, dishing the ball off, and defending well, I think we're in for a great season, and I really cannot see us missing the playoffs this year. I think we'll probably be knocked out early, but we're definitely going to get there this year. I can see it.
I think it's exciting, isn't it? Because like I think we have the potential with that 5. You look at that and you think, yeah, okay, that team can make a run at the 8. And let's not forget that if you're 10th now, you're playing that sort of that one-off. Playoff game to make the 8. So even if we finish 10th or 9th, we still got a chance.
You still got a chance.
Exactly. But, it's just exciting because we went into this limbo over the last, 5 or 6 years where we weren't shit enough that we could sort of accumulate assets and accumulate picks and then rebuild through the draft. We couldn't do that. And then we weren't good enough
because
to
we
make
tank.
the playoffs.
Tankers. We would still try our best. And this is what I fucking hate about tanking, right? Can you imagine supporting a team who intentionally tanks, right? Yes, it may pay off in the long run, but fuck me, what a disgrace. You're a professional organisation. You should be out there trying your best every single time you play.
That's what Stephen A. says, he talks about it all the time, and he talks about the 76ers, how they always used to come out and say, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. But the issue with that is you're literally saying, we're going to be shit for years, but we still want you to come pay money to buy tickets and to watch us. And that's the issue. Like, if you're still expecting people to invest, then you should be trying your hardest. And if you're shit...
should be held to account. Coaches, if you come out right as a coach of no matter what team you're in, right, anything, it's generally any sport that has a draft, right? So baseball, basketball, AFL, NFL, right? If you intentionally lose as a coach, so you go out there and you play a weaker team, or you go out there intentionally to lose because you might get a higher draft pick, you should be sacked on the fucking spot. You are a disgrace. There is no two ways about it. Some people will disagree with me, but if my team is shit, right, and we're shit and we're still trying our best, I'm still happy. I'm still going to be happy, even though I'm going to be sad we're losing. As long as you give it your fucking all, I'll stop and pay me money. But if you intentionally tank, you can go get fucked.
Yeah, and look, I'd agree with that. I can understand where you're coming from. Again, I'll play devil's advocate. I think the problem is that you get clubs. Well, I'll use Bulls for example. I don't think at any point we've decided to tank. I think we've tried to play. And the issue now becomes is you're at this point now where it's like, okay, well, we haven't genuinely tanked, but now we're just in limbo. We're not going anywhere. So either A, you pull the trigger and you sign these players on big deals and you try to give it a go, or you tank and you try to acquire picks. So it's sort of hard because...
Or you inspire the people you've got. If they've made it to the NBA, they're not shit. If they've made it to the NFL... You know, like when people say, "Oh, fuck, he's shit, that bloke." There is no one, I think, that's ever been a professional sportsman that's legitimately been shit. They might not be cut out for the top league to be the best, but they're not shit, and they should be given every chance to succeed and prove themselves at that level. If
I
you're
don't
going to
know.
tank on
I've
purpose and
seen some
lose, get
busts in the draft, man. You ever see Anthony Bennett? That guy was useless.
he can be a bust, but it doesn't mean he's shit.
Oh, no, he's shit. He was terrible. How he ever went first round pick?
But if you went 1-on-1 with him, how do you reckon you'd go?
Oh, mate.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean? They're not
me.
shit. They're still not shit. They're somewhat talented at the sport that they're playing. The only way you would argue is if someone bought you into the team. And when Sourav Ganguly's dad bought him into the team, he still wasn't shit.
You make a fair point there, because AFL players, right, like, I've got a mate that plays AFL, and sometimes you'll get, like, someone that's playing that didn't really cut it, let's say Brisbane Lions, but they're still a professional footballer. And
exactly.
they go down into the locals, like they'll play at Morningside or they'll play at bloody American Vat or something like that, and they play down, and they're like this absolute Gary Ablett in the team because they're professional players. Even though they can't, make it in the big leagues, they're still like 10 times better.
They're still not shit. They just might not be cut out for the big leagues. But if you do make it, why is the coaching staff or the manager or whoever not trying to give you the best opportunity to succeed as the player you are?
I'm sure they are.
Not if you're intentionally tanking, you're fucking not.
Well, that's an organisation decision, isn't it? It's not the coach. I wouldn't say the coach has gone, you know what, I want to tank to acquire assets. I believe that's an organisation decision. They should be sacked. They should be fucking gone. But that's American sports. That's disgraceful. This isn't Australian sports. It doesn't exist. I don't think it exists in Australia. I could be wrong. I don't think it exists. I'm not seeing a team genuinely. No, because
we don't have drafts.
No, there is in the AFL, but even in the AFL, like, I don't see teams be consistently shit. Like, they'll be crap for a couple of years. In Carlton, they've been crap for 10 plus years, and they're still crap. Like,
the Demons were shit for fucking ever.
Exactly.
Now,
so it doesn't really
we were terrible
work
on the field, but look at us now. We're flying.
But in American sports, for some reason, it seems to be in their culture that they'll be really good, and then they'll tank and be shit for a while and reinvest. That's the only credit I would say. I mean, some teams, they don't do that. They always try to compete, like, regardless. Like, I can't ever remember. I can't ever remember the Boston Celtics ever being useless. They've always been a team that wants to win, regardless if it happens or not. The Boston Celtics or an organisation that they always want to win.
You can say the same about the Lakers, even though they had some lean years, right?
Oh, mate! After Kobe left, they were dreadful. They had about three. They had 3 years straight where they had the second round pick, the second pick in the draft, 3 years straight.
They were lean, very lean years. But do you think they tanked? Do you think the people who follow the Lakers, who are proud Lakers supporters, would allow it? Jack Nicholson's not going to sit there and let them tank.
I don't think they tanked. I think what happened when Kobe left is they invested so much into Kobe Bryant, they overpaid him, that when he left them fucked, because he required so much. Yeah, he required so much money towards the end of his deal that they had nothing left to acquire their assets. So he kind of fucked them over in a way. And then when he left and he bounced, they had nothing. They had no team left, no core to build again. So that's why they were shit.
That's what makes Tom Brady so great. He takes unders his entire career so that other players around him can be
absolutely. He's the most unselfish, great player I've ever seen.
Look how smart it is. Look how smart it's. Look at what it's done for him. It's put him into a position where he's won 7 Super Bowls, 6 with New England, 1 with Tampa Bay, and he's still taken unders so that other players can come back.
It makes you wonder why people don't do it.
Well, because of greed, I would say. I don't know. I'm not getting that money thrown at me, but I would prefer to be Tom Brady than I would prefer to be.
It's easy. It's easy to say that when we're sitting here at the desk, aren't we? But like, it's hard to say if you're at a club and they offer you. I mean, NBA's got ridiculous amounts of money. Look at Dak, for example. Exactly, Dak Prescott. They offer him that amount of money. Is he turning that down? Is he going? You know what? I don't want to have that because I want to invest in a team. I don't think anyone's doing that. Tom Brady is a special type of man, and
he is.
And Tom Brady is a little bit. He's probably an unfair excuse because when he started winning Super Bowls, he was still on deals that were relatively low at the top, like for the time. He was on his rookie deal when he won his first one in 2000. Exactly, and money's changed now, and he's realized, okay, well, I want to keep winning, so I'll take cuts. Whereas Dak Prescott's never won anything.
And also, there isn't like the cut. Giselle Bundchen's on more money than him. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Giselle earns more money than Tom per year, so he can take pay cuts with no worries with his supermodel wife earning fucking bank. But He's still got to do it. He could still say, no, I want that money, but he doesn't. He says, give it to the teammates. Bring in some people who deserve it. Let's get him in here. Let's win.
Again, it just depends on the player.
And look at Dak. How can Dak deserve that money?
That's just the Cowboys, though. That's the Cowboys, though. They've got so much money. Jerry Jones is an absolute fucking tool. And
I agree.
They just throw so much money at a quarterback. So you said it yourself. They invested in Tony Romo and threw too much money at him. It didn't fucking work, and now they're doing the same with Prescott. And Prescott's got a fucking niggle on his shoulder, and I guarantee you he'll be injured this year. I can see it. He's going to get sacked at some point, or he's going to throw something or throw too much, and he's going to pull his fucking shoulder out because he's already got some niggle.
The offensive line of the Cowboys, right? That is easily a top 5 offensive line in the whole.
I would argue that at one point they had the best offensive line in the game.
Absolutely right. They had a sensational Travis Fredericks. They had I can't remember that guy at right guard. Doesn't matter. They were stacked. Doug Free, all these Tyron Smith. They were absolutely stacked, right? And Dak still couldn't win games.
Yep.
And yes, their defense is poor, but Dak should be if they're having 30 scored against them, Dak should be scoring 33 because that's how good that line was. So,
they had no excuse to. So Dak had all the cover in the world. He had so much time. He could get out in the pocket and pick his whoever his target was.
And he's had Zeke running the ball, just chewing up meters.
But that's also another problem. They have Zeke, and they have not used Zeke. I feel
properly.
They haven't used it properly. He's on his day easily probably. Oh well, him and Henry are probably the best running backs in the game. But
Derek is. Christian McCaffrey's really good.
Christian McCaffrey is very good, but
is unreal.
He is unbelievable for a white man. He's athletic.
He is the best white running back ever
I've ever seen. You just look at him and you think you shouldn't be that good.
He shouldn't be that talented.
No,
because,
it's crazy.
When push comes to shove, being a running back is a black man's game. They're so athletic, so powerful. White guys can't cut it usually. There was a guy who played for the Browns, I think, in 2010 named Peyton Hillis, right? He was a one-year wonder. He was a big, monstrous white fella. Fell off the face of the earth. And that's what Christian McCaffrey hasn't done, is he's still showing up year after year, which is good for him. He's definitely the best white running back ever. I can't pick anyone else above him.
There's been some really good running backs, but yeah, I think Henry's probably the best in the game right now. He's just his blend of strength and speed is something that
he's so powerful.
His power.
Imagine
is something
trying to tackle him. I would literally shit myself if he was running at me. Like he's like 6'2", 240 at least. If he was running at me, I would piss my pants. I'd just shit and piss myself. There was nothing I could do about it. He would look at me. It'd be like when Greg Inglis was at the peak of his powers, right? He was just monstering people. If he was to run at you, you just may as well piss yourself. You just lay on the ground, piss and shit yourself, and walk off the field in embarrassment.
I know, right? I mean,
I couldn't stand it. He's too strong, too powerful, too big. Derek, stay away.
Who would you have as probably your top 3 running backs of all time?
Top 3 running backs of all time? My personal opinion, in my opinion,
you go your personal opinion.
Okay, number 3, I've got Emmett Smith from the Cowboys. He was unreal, but he was also in an unreal team. He had a really good quarterback in Troy Aikman and a really, really good wide receiver, Michael Irvin, that took a lot of pressure off him, but he still had to do the work. He really had to do a lot of work himself. Number 2, this guy's an unsung hero, right? He's Curtis Martin. He used to play for the Patriots. And he was just a battler. He'd just battle and battle and battle and battle and battle. 1,000 yards year in, year out, year in, year out. Ended up going to the Jets. I think he won one Super Bowl in 2002 with the Patriots, but I could be so wrong. And my favourite ever, for me, Ladainian Tomlinson, the greatest.
Ladainian Tomlinson's in my top.
Mate, he was something else, that guy. He was really the first one, outside of Marshall Faulk, who would get 100 catches a year on top of running the ball for 1,700 yards. Yep. The guy was a sensation. He wore that dark visor. He looked mean. He
holds the NFL record for most rushing touchdowns in a season.
I think it's 28. Yeah, 28. Yep. Priest Holmes got 27 the year after. It was real close for the Chiefs. But geez, that fucking AFC West was stacked for running backs back then. Priest Holmes, Ladainian Tomlinson at the same time, and then Clinton Porter's playing for Denver. The Raiders were shit then. But LT to me is my best. Yours. Give me your top three. Who do you think is your top three running backs?
So I'm LT's my best too because I think
mate.
I don't know if it's the timing of when I've watched football or what, but I think he was a freak. I'm number 2. I've got Bo Jackson because I think Bo Jackson was an absolute freak of an athlete.
Dual international, as they say.
Yes, he was a freak of an athlete. He could do anything. Play for the Raiders. The Raiders were great at that time.
Yes,
and then my third, because I just really like him, is Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders was
awesome. Mate. He was a weapon.
Barry Sanders was great. 15,000 career rushing yards. That is insanity.
Never missed a 1,000-yard season either. And he played injured quite a lot. You look at some of the people who have played for Detroit, right? Him, Stafford, mate. Megatron, and you think, what's going on there? They get these weapons and they do fucking nothing.
The Lions are probably going to be the worst football organisation of all time, right?
Yeah.
Before Brady, I'd say it was the Bucks.
Nah, mate, they won a bowl in 2001 or 2, I think. John Gruden won it with them. They were okay. They're relative. Oh, they're not relative newcomers. They come around in the 70s. They were a joke at the start, but they've gone through ebbs and flows. They win, they lose. They win, they lose. They'll win a bit more now. Bruce Arians is a great coach. Their defense is top 5 in the NFL. They're stars. They're real stars. They're an ultimate bandwagon team. I think with the NFL, there's 2 bandwagon teams that everyone's on at the moment. Chiefs, absolute bandwagoners at the moment, except for the rusted-on ones from Arrowhead, and the Bucs, absolute bandwagoners.
See,
not like my Bears, though. Not like my mighty Bears.
Yeah, I know what you say. They won. So I've just got it up in front of me. So they won Super Bowl in 2002, and then 2002, and then obviously last year. But I've also got this in front of me, and I would like you to guess because I know you love your football just as much as I do, and I want to know if you can guess. So I'll tell you. Statistically speaking, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the worst football organisation that has ever lived. They have lost the most football games out of any team, right? So there's that. Now, who would you think has won the most?
Won the most games ever?
Yep.
Green Bay Packers?
Green Bay Packers, Green Bay Packers, and there's another team that's got more wins than them.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears, yeah. So the Bears have got...
They're the 2 oldest teams in the NFL. They are old as shit.
But you've got percentage here, because obviously you win, your loss, and then the amount of times you've drawn. So if you're going by percentage, the top 3 teams that have ever played football is Green Bay Packers, with a percentage of 569, tied with Dallas Cowboys. Now, that's crazy, because Dallas Cowboys in the last 25 years have been absolute trash, but they were great in the 90s.
They were bigger than the 80s.
They were.
90s, man.
Yeah, they were fantastic. And then, rounding out third, which is insanity to me, but they haven't been around so long, so the percentage is probably, it's relatively high because they only joined in 1996 as the Ravens.
You know what? The Ravens...
But the Ravens have always kind of been pretty good.
See, they've had some name changes, right? Like, they were the Baltimore Colts for a bit. This is the thing with the NFL. There's a really interesting thing on YouTube about how each team has become what they are now. Like, the Detroit Lions were in and out, like, fucking 10 times in the 1920s and stuff. But the Ravens have had sort of they had a rebirth or Baltimore, I should say, had a rebirth when the Ravens come back in 96. And you got to look, since 96, they have been they've been unbelievable in defense. Like, you got to
they have, mate. I mean,
Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed, probably the most underrated safety ever. They are just fucking...
Yeah, and Ray Lewis is...
underrated. Everybody knows how good Ed Reed is.
Ray Lewis is easily the best linebacker that's ever lived.
What a hype man. Watch that big bastard run out dancing.
Mate, he's the best motivator. Like, I'll watch him just on the night time. I'll watch his motivational videos. It's incredible. He's big. That guy could hype up anything.
He could.
Anything.
He could hype up a dead body. He could put a punch back in a corpse, that bloke. He goes all right.
And man, he hit like a Mack truck. Fucking hit like
solid. That. Solid as a rock.
I see so many videos and, like, coaches are... they're telling their receivers to go a certain way or whatever, and they're pulling them over the sideline. It's like, why'd you change that play? Or why'd you want me to pull right and all that? And they're like, because they got Ray over that side. And it's
big
like,
fucking Raymundo.
Yeah, fuck that guy, because that guy's going to kill you. So, yeah, man. But yeah, Ravens have always been pretty good, man. I mean...
And since 96, absolutely, they've been good. And then, it's the ebbs and flows things, and a lot of it hinges on... And a lot of it hinges on the quarterback you got. Like, you look at the Packers since Rodgers started playing. Like, Rodgers is going into his 17th year, most ever by a Packers quarterback. They've been 2 tied at 16. Brett Favre and the other fella, I can't remember who the fuck he is.
Yeah, Brett Favre was obviously.
Brett Favre, and then he was a winner, but he only won 1 Super Bowl. And then he hung around forever, just the rocket, just slinging everything.
Yeah, but you look at the Packers. Like, the Packers are probably, like, people talk about, like, America's team or whatever. Like, I know they say it's Dallas and, you know, and all that type of stuff. But if you look at the Packers, they are arguably the most historic, and
they are the most historic. And the Bears-Packers game is the most historic game.
I mean, look at Vince Lombardi. He has the trophy named after him, for fuck's sake.
The most historic game, in my opinion, not just because I'm a Bears fan, is either Bears-Packers Soldier Field or Packers-Bears Lambeau Field. There is nothing more exciting than that game. And it happens.
Lambeau Field, I love Lambeau Field. I think it's incredible.
It's old and ugly, but God, it's beautiful, isn't it?
There's
something
an
charming
aura about it. Yeah, there's an aura about it, and there's a history about it. That's why Anfield and football, before it got upgraded and stuff, had this charm about it, because it had a soul. You know what I mean?
That's right, and that's what, if you look at, like, going to rugby league really quickly before we shut this whole thing down, because I'm sick to death of speaking to you. But if you go to rugby league, suburban grounds are where it's at. Nobody likes these big stadiums because they never fill out. They're lifeless. There's no joy in them. They pay a lot of money for the teams to go and play there. But if you put the Tigers at ANZ, go piss off. If you put the Tigers at Leichhardt, fuck me, how exciting. And it's the same thing with, like, suburban grounds are a must, because that's where the tribalism breeds from. Everybody talks about it, but these big money pricks don't want it, and it just fucks the whole game. And that's all sports are like that. Suburban grounds are where it is at.
That's why if Brisbane put a team in Ipswich, I can guarantee you that team would eventually be bigger.
They'll play half their games out of Suncorp, I guarantee you. They'll play half their games out of Suncorp.
You reckon that'll happen?
Yeah, I do, and I think it will be Redcliffe that get in. Redcliffe are massive. They've got so much money, like over $100 million in the coffers. They are stacked with dosh. They have got a monstrous junior base, right? Like from under sevens all the way up to Q Cup. They are stacked. They have got the stadium. They can build a bigger stadium if they had to. They are in prime position to be the next NRL club. Absolutely, the Redcliffe Dolphins. But they will be forced by the Queensland government to play half of their games out of Suncorp, I bet you.
They shouldn't, because
they will, though, I bet you.
Yeah, up there they could create an atmosphere. Like you said, it would create that tribalism. They're from the north, and, you know, Brisbane's Brisbane. But, I mean, isn't there the new name for the Brisbane team's already been confirmed, hasn't it?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
Because I've seen banners around.
It's
Firehawks. I've seen banners around the city of it.
That's an awful name for rugby league.
It is terrible.
It's like, you know when you used to create a team on Madden or FIFA and they had those real dodgy generic names?
The generic names that you couldn't choose.
And shitty logos. That's what this feels like to me. The Brisbane Firehawks. Mate. Oh, go fucking suck it, bloody dick. Yuck.
Terrible, mate. Terrible.
Oh, well, that's been enjoyable, Tommy.
Yeah, mate, it's not bad. I mean, we've had a lot to talk about. A few sports we've ticked off, but
there's going to be more. There's always going to be more to talk about.
There's going to be more to talk about, mate. But, we'll talk about the Premier League on the next one. That should be exciting.
That's the best thing about sport. It never stops.
It never stops, mate.
Always got something to talk about.
And we never stop.
No, never. I've tried to today. Put my feet up for 5 minutes. Didn't go down well. Let me tell you.
Can't do it, mate.
Righto, Cobber. Talk to you.
All right, mate. See you later.
See you, mate. Bye.